mindless Mustangs, terrible Toyotas, evasive e-bikers, and more. Wham Bam Dashcam is back, so strap in. This submitter was on her way home when the driver of the Mustang ahead of her turned across the oncoming lane, failing to yield to a minivan. The impact sent both vehicles spinning before they smashed into a sign. Sarah immediately stopped to check on the occupants, then called 911 after verifying they weren't seriously injured. The 911 operator asked Sarah to stay at the scene until a police officer could collect her dashcam footage. She ended up showing it to several first responders before leaving. By the way, this is Sarah's second time being featured on Wham Bam Dashcam. Her first submission was from a year ago, when a pickup turned and T-boned her Dodge Charger. We'll link to that episode at the end of this one. Jay is a gig delivery driver who was on his way to drop off an order when he was suddenly rear-ended by a speeding Toyota. Jay told us that when he began his overtake of a slower car, there was no traffic in his rearview mirror. When he started merging back in front of the silver car, the Toyota driver tried to thread the needle and failed. Jay's brother was also in his Honda Civic, and after making sure he was okay, he went to check on the driver of the Toyota. The driver immediately accused Jay of causing the collision, so Jay called the police so they could decide. When police arrived, they spoke to the Toyota driver first, and he said Jay had swerved into him. When Jay showed the cops his dashcam footage, they immediately found the Toyota driver responsible for the collision. That settled the issue, and the Toyota driver's insurance provider paid Jay for his totaled Civic. We've still got 18 more exclusive dashcam stories in this episode, so buckle up. Mark was driving in Las Vegas when he passed two cyclists riding e-bikes, one in the road and one on the sidewalk. Watch what happened after one transitioned into the bike lane before popping a wheelie right behind a police SUV. The police officer switched on his party lights and turned to block the cyclist, but he just flipped a U-turn and took off the other way down the road. The cop quickly followed after him while the other cyclist disappeared. Neither we nor Mark have any idea what was going on here. Was the cyclist not supposed to pop a wheelie? Was he not supposed to be riding an e-bike on a public road? Or maybe he wasn't supposed to be riding it in the bike lane? If you're familiar with cycling laws in Las Vegas, let us know in the comments. In any case, Mark never did find out if the cop caught up with the cyclist or if he was able to evade the SUV on his e-bike. Jake was proceeding through a traffic light when the driver of a black pickup truck ran the light from the left before T-boning a white Toyota. The impact of the pickup truck sent the Toyota sideways into a Volkswagen Tiguan, making this a three-vehicle collision. Jake told us he waited for first responders to arrive before giving them a statement. He also provided copies of his dashcam footage to the drivers of the Toyota and the VW, which we're sure they appreciated. The dashcam never lies. Paul was leaving a supermarket parking lot when he was suddenly blocked in by a bunch of police cars. Thankfully, the cops weren't there for Paul. We don't know what was going on, but Paul watched them arrest a guy who'd been standing and waiting for them next to a car in the parking lot. When Paul tried to squeeze between the cop cars, he wasn't able to. He ended up backing up to get out while the cops were busy putting the man in handcuffs. We checked extensively online and couldn't find any information about the arrest. If you know what was going on, or if you just want to make up some crazy theory for fun, post it in the comments. Nola was going clothes shopping when a Honda Civic full of teenagers turned across her path. Nola slammed on the brakes, barely avoiding hitting the Civic with her Honda CR-V. While Nola was able to come to a complete stop, the Civic driver just sped off. Now that's a close call if we've ever seen one. Larry was driving his Jeep Liberty when he stopped on a highway while waiting to make a left turn across an oncoming lane. His turn signal was active when a Hyundai's brakes locked up before it rear-ended him. Incredibly, nobody was injured in the collision. When a police officer responded, he found the Hyundai driver responsible after hearing Larry's turn signal clicking in his dashcam footage. The collision totaled both vehicles, although the Jeep was still drivable. Larry used the insurance settlement to replace it with another Jeep Liberty, 6 years newer. Larry told us he watches every episode of Wham Bam Dashcam with his wife Nancy, and he thinks they've made him a better, more aware driver. If you're enjoying the video, follow Larry's lead and subscribe to the channel. Connor was waiting at a red light when drivers in the left turn lanes got green lights for protected left turns. Watch what happened when an oncoming driver decided to run their light, which was still red. A police car waiting at the same light took off after the red light runner, party lights active. Gotta love that instant justice. Caleb was turning right from a lane that allows traffic to turn or proceed straight, but the driver of a Lexus failed to turn into the nearest lane before clipping the front of Caleb's Mazda CX-30. Caleb told us he didn't notice the Lexus in his way until it was too late to swerve away from it and avoid a collision. When police arrived, they were initially going to declare Caleb responsible for causing the fender bender. That all changed when he showed them his dashcam footage. The cops immediately cited the Lexus driver, and her insurance provider paid to repair his Mazda. Without his dashcam, Caleb would have been on the hook for the damage to that Lexus. If you need a dashcam, check the description for links to the ones the Wham Bam team uses, along with special discounts just for our fans. Frank was on his way home after visiting his mother when the brake lights ahead of him grabbed his attention. For a second, he thought for sure he saw a deer crossing the road, and then...
I was looking, that was a buck, but I saw the doe back here.
Thankfully, Frank had already started slowing down by the time the buck ran across the road in front of his Nissan Rogue, so this was only a close call. Insert a joke about the big bucks here. Heath's mother was driving her Ford Explorer when she watched a car screech to a halt for a red light before getting rear-ended by a pickup truck.
Oh. Did you have a wreck? No, but the people in front of me did.
Heath told us his first Wham Bam submission to be featured was actually a BeamNG Drive video that we published on the Wham Bam GamerCam channel. We'll put a link to that episode at the end of this one so you can check it out. Matt watched a Tesla driver come the wrong way down a turn lane to reach a gas station, making her today's Tesla behaving badly.
That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive.
Of course, the driver of the Model Y should not have gone the wrong way to reach her destination, but the real question is, why was she going to a gas station to begin with? Rumor has it, Teslas are actually powered by ultra-quiet gas generators that their owners fill with gas when nobody is looking. At least, that's what we've heard. I've never had to fill mine, so it must be super efficient too. Leo was driving down a Texas highway in his Toyota Corolla when the GMC Acadia in front of him came to a stop. When Leo stood on the brake pedal, his wheels locked up before he slid into the SUV. Thankfully, this collision didn't result in any injuries. Leo provided his insurance information to the SUV driver before they went their separate ways. He didn't have collision coverage, so he got a repair quote for his Corolla. To fix his hood, radiator support, radiator, headlight, and bumper cover, a shop gave him a quote for $2,000 US. He told us he rejected the quote, then fixed all the damage himself. Cooper was proceeding with a left turn after his light turned green when he watched an SUV driver from the left blast through their red light.
Holy!
In spite of the fact that Cooper and the driver next to him had taken their time entering the intersection, the SUV barely avoided getting T-boned by the white Chevy. Thankfully, neither it nor Cooper's Hummer H3 were damaged. Andres watched a driver from the right turn across an oncoming lane before getting T-boned by a car from the left. Andres told us he stopped to make sure everyone was okay, and incredibly, nobody was seriously hurt. He wanted to shout out his son Aiden for introducing him to the Wham Bam channels. In fact, he told us the first thing he did after witnessing this collision was text Aiden, "We got a Wham Bam." Steven watched a driver use a sidewalk's curb cut to reach a gas station.
What the are they doing? What the What? They went up the crosswalk.
Yeah, that's not a driveway. Only a few seconds earlier, an SUV driver had figured it out, so we don't get it either, Steven. Thankfully, nothing seriously bad happened as a result of their mistake, and Steven continued to work. Hassan was on his way home with his wife Khadija and daughter Marabon when they decided to stop at a coffee shop. Check out what they witnessed when an oncoming driver with a red turn arrow ran their light and T-boned a car.
Oh.
Hassan said it was frustrating to see that nobody else seemed to care about the collision, driving on by like nothing had happened. He, on the other hand, called 911 before waiting for first responders to arrive. Colby was changing lanes to pass some slower vehicles when another driver entered the road from a side street, blocking his path. Colby managed to swerve around the car, barely avoiding a collision. He told us he looked in his rearview mirror to see if the other driver had been texting, but it was too dark to tell. Italo told us the roads around the Florida Mall are confusing, with some intersections that appear to be four-way stops, even though they aren't. He watched the driver in front of him make that mistake and pay the price. Italo pulled over and checked on the occupants of the Mustang, a married couple dressed nicely for a date. Another witness called 911 and paramedics arrived just a few minutes later. Amazingly, nobody was seriously injured. Once first responders arrived, Italo gave a copy of his dashcam footage to the occupants of the Mustang before heading home. Our final submission this week is actually just a really insane storm. Tribal Tech captured this footage of the aftermath of a huge storm that hit his area while he was at work. He said the storm produced multiple tornadoes and he waited them out before heading home. While there were power outages and damaged homes, incredibly, nobody was hurt by the extreme weather. Don't forget to check out Heath's submission that was featured on Wham Bam Gamercam when he was struck by a speeding Honda after pulling over to use his phone. Or watch Sarah's previous submission when her Dodge Charger was T-boned by a turning pickup. Make sure YouTube didn't unsubscribe you, and we'll see you next week.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon, man. Please support the show.